And you see, that is why you never transport down to Risa without a Horgon. Yeah. More on that story later. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of whatever age you might be. I mean, hey, you might not even be a boy or a girl. You might be a, I don't know, Cardassian at this rate.
Hey.
Welcome to the first inaugural, whatever the hell you want to call it, episode of Off the Bridge Fanfares Commencings.
Woo! Chaos.
There we go. This will be the chaotic, mostly Trek related, but hopefully some other kinds of sci-fi, crap talking show. Parts of these are planned, parts of them are not. We got some really cool little episode ideas for later on down the line, which we'll get into soon. But I am Jay. You guys all know me from Twitch, other failed talk show podcast thingy majigger what's it, and I am joined by my captain, who will let introduce themselves.
Oh god. Hey, it me. I'm your local, usually an idiot in chat. You probably know me as J and Janeway. Bit pretentious, that innit, really, but it is what it is.
Pretentious?
I'll be here to shit talk. But never. No. What?
Ever.
Pretentious? Ugh, not me.
Not at all. Ever. No, not at all. Our resident Cardassian sympathizer, which we will go into one day on an episode. We have an episode entirely built around that. It's going to be so good. We're going to be having some really cool little sections, hopefully, down the line. We're going to hopefully get some more co-hosts in along the lines. Along the way, even. Words. Stuff.
Hell yeah. I need someone to debate me.
Yes, I have a really cool idea for a debate section that we could do at some point, because that Make Cardassia Great Again episode is going to be so good. But this is not going to be like your any other podcast. This is going to be us just talking shit. As you can imagine, there is no real kind of script. Janeway has notes.
With your own shit as well.
Yes, because we will always take the extras. Now that BS is out of the way, I want to push it on this one straight away, but I feel like we need to do it a little bit later, though. Let's talk the state of Star Trek in general, I guess.
Oh.
Like,
are you sure? I ain't got any coffee. I'm rampant today.
This is gonna be this is gonna be an interesting one, because like we've been talking about this a little bit, and
A little bit.
a little bit being an understatement. We're resident Star Trek buffs that will kind of sort of know most things, but not everything.
Yeah, I studied Star Trek like it was a degree.
Yeah, I someone more knowledgeable than me, that's for a start. Even though I've been watching it since I was like 12, but there we go. You know what? Let's start on the typicals. Best series, like best incarnation of Star Trek to this point.
Oh, that's interesting. That's difficult because it changes like every week for me personally. I think
Right.
like it's always Voyager is always in the top 2. Absolutely no surprises there for anyone.
None whatsoever.
But at the minute, I kind of think it's TOS just because I'm going through that nostalgia kick. I'm doing my complete rewatch as well, so I'm currently on.
Ooh. That's always a good thing too. Like TOS is always definitely got to be in your top 3, no matter where you are when it comes to Star Trek. Though, like if you can't have the thing that birthed it, you know.
Yeah, I think in my heart of hearts it is Voyager though. I just keep denying it. I get hyperfixations on like certain series, but Voyager has always been up there, so I think it is Voyager for me.
See, Voyager's a very controversial subject as far as Star Trek conversation goes, because there's a lot of people that say that Star Trek was really brilliant in total, but Voyager was the biggest letdown.
Yeah, and what I say to those people is, "Aww,
oh, it's nice for you to have an opinion. You're wrong."
happy 6th birthday."
It's like, you're wrong, but good for you.
Yeah, you're entitled to your wrong opinion. That's fine.
Exactly, because okay, so like the stuff that they give us, the reasons that they give us, and please stop me when I get to the point that sounds stupid, is Voyager captained by a woman, had a very dull long story of they had to get back to the Alpha Quadrant. What are they gonna do? And then there's the, oh look, here's the oh so helpful thing every series that helps them get closer to home.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Where's the bad part of that story? Like,
I think it was a refreshing change because every Star Trek up until that point was pretty much just a different episode of a different problem each day.
yeah.
At least this one had structure, like, oh well, this alien's gonna help them get home, but this one isn't. It's gonna take them halfway around a nebula.
we got a nebula looking thing that wants to eat us because there's a telepathic pitcher plant. Some old alien pirate captain stuck in the mouth of it, who you think wants to get out, and no, I'm just gonna go flying back in there.
Yeah, and I get. Are we gonna have a discussion about Janeway? Is this what we're doing?
Oh, we will get to the solid Janeway subject for sure. Like that's gonna be a big.
I'm quite willing to defend my queen on the spot right now.
Do it. The floor is yours.
I just Ross just said I got an A star in my English GCSEs because I wrote about Star Trek. I'd really like to know what you wrote.
Oh yes, I would love, Ross, when we get you on, I would love to hear that story, my dude. That is gonna be awesome.
Oh heck yeah, I'd love to hear that. So Janeway, anyway, I think she gets a lot of stick. She definitely gets the most stick, aside from like maybe Cisco.
Archer.
Well, yeah, but he's a white man. And he has no rights.
the three biggest controversial captains: Archer, Cisco, and Janeway, all for 3 different reasons, which we will get to. Let's hear your.
Yeah.
Let's get you on that hill and let you plant your flag and die on that thing.
Okay, so I will die as Janeway is my favorite. Janeway is Mon Capitan. She is my captain. I love her. I think she's great. I wrote that essay when I was like 7 on her for International Women's Day.
That's
awesome. She was brilliant. So I'm on Amelia Earhart, and you can imagine my excitement when I saw the 37s at 16 years old.
That was a brilliant episode.
I just think Janeway gets a lot of stick because she's a woman predominantly. Like, she did some shit that I don't necessarily agree with. Yeah, I can call her out on a bullshit, but it seems that most people call her out on a bullshit because she's a woman. Like, she's too emotional. She has, she's not feminine enough. And you're like, Kirk was very emotional.
Yeah.
Kirk was possibly the most emotional man I've ever seen in my entire life.
Very true.
And I just feel like she gets a bit of unfair stick for that. But I can call her out on a bullshit where it's needed. Like, sometimes she is irrational and she's very quick to put herself in the firing line and sacrifice herself and a crew without actually thinking about it.
I think a lot of people kind of do but Picard wouldn't have done that approach. So it's like the stuff with the Borg, late stories with the Borg, the initial episode of the caretaker stranding the crew in the Delta Quadrant, where she could very easily have got them back, all that kind of stuff. That's the big takeaways from most people's Janeway arguments. They say Voyager in general just annihilated the Borg and the mystique of them in general.
Yeah, that's valid. And I think it was a good end, though, to like sort of push the Borg out of the sphere a little bit. Like, not necessarily the end of the Borg per se, but like just sort of bring more in, because the Borg were getting a bit samey. Like, what they assimilate everyone. It is what it is.
Exactly. So what can you honestly do with the Borg? It's a simple case of, well, we are Borg, we want you to be one of us, deal with it.
Yeah, and it got very samey, and I think it was sort of, and I've never forgotten that scene with Janeway and the Borg Queen, where like she holds that thing up at her and she doesn't even flinch.
Right? Like that I think that those are Janeway's selling points, just like how she took on the Borg, how she managed to stand up. She's the first real kind of captain to just be like, I'm here, what of it? Like, just deal with it. I am going through your space whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and the Azans are just sort of like, this is our territory, and she's like, we only just want to pass through, and like we will fight our way through that nebula. And I think Picard probably would have backed down in most situations. And I don't think, here's a hot take, I don't think any captain could have done what Janeway did.
That is a very hot take. I want to hear more on that. Give me more.
Well, basically, so this is, people forget as well, I think, a lot, that this is Janeway's first command, and what a command it was.
Right? I mean, you see the evolution of that character through those seasons. There's no just like, she's just like this all the way through. She goes from very, you put it the right way, I think, like she goes from very emotional, kind of like first day captain sort of thing in the first couple of seasons. She's very like, I wouldn't say always second guessing herself, but she's very much like true Starfleet captain at that point in the first 2 seasons, and then as it starts going on with the change of the hair comes the change of the attitude, and there's more character development. You see that little will they won't they with her and Chakotay as time goes on, and it's just like, why did that never happen, except for in an alternative timeline where they sort of hint that it might have. And by the end, she's just this give no damn captain who will take on the Borg just to get home.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also have a go at Janeway first, sort of being like, oh, she was too emotional, she was, stuck to the Prime Directive, and arguably she probably did stick to the Prime Directive mostly for more than like any other captain, I would say, like even possibly more than Picard, in that she was very much, well, I don't want to interfere with this race of people, I don't want to interfere with these aliens. But when she realised that she had no choice and the only way she was going to get home was to sort of interfere, she sort of threw the Prime Directive in the bin.
Like, there was particular moments where it was just like, we kind of should stick to it here, but Omega, anyone? For the Prime, what was it, for the duration of this mission, the Prime Directive has been rescinded. I love that line.
Yeah.
But that's her chaotic side coming out because of the situation at that point.
Yeah, and I think Janeway just sort of slowly but surely realised that being emotional and sticking to Starfleet protocol in this entirely different quadrant where it doesn't fucking matter.
I understood.
She quickly realised that it's not going to do her any good, and that's when she started to get very much captain-y in a way.
Yeah, it was like, this is my ship, my crew, I need to do everything I can kind of thing. Like, the Federation is us at this point, until you start getting like the little intruder ships that come along, like say what was it, I'm trying to remember the ship that was meant to be Federation, but it wasn't. It was the guy trying to take him back to the Borg because their efforts to help the Borg with 8472 got his family killed. That dude with a weird ass head that had his ship all looking like Federation. This is how bad it is. It's been a while since I've seen that episode. I can't remember the exact name of it.
I can't either.
I think it was the ship with the slipstream drive, wasn't it? Where he was trying to pretend that he was there to help them get back to Earth. But
yeah,
he had the whole ship looking like it was Federation, but it was just set to autopilot. That by the time everyone got over it, it was set to go to Borg space so that he'd get them all assimilated. I sound like I don't know my Trek. That's really bad. Like, I feel really bad for not being able to remember the name of the episode or like the actual.
Probably tell the slot as well that we've got one shared brain cell. He's doing his best.
Yes, my brain cell. I do not own the brain cell today. Like, I've done all of my work today. The Dauntless, thank you very much,
yeah.
Ross. It was in my head, and it was a toss-up between that and the Prometheus. And I'm like, Prometheus doesn't sound right. That was with the other EMH, which was a whole thing.
That was I know. Yeah, that was a moment.
That was a very odd moment indeed. But no, I was just saying, like, I think you're right, especially with like when people are saying when people are bringing up the Janeway controversy. It is literally just those points. Too emotional, doesn't treat it like Starfleet, but then does too much like Starfleet. It's like, you got to think, they're putting the name of the Federation out into a place where no one's ever been. And there's going to be a lot of hostile forces out there that have never come across a Federation like theirs before, or have come across Federations like theirs before, and they've been, hey, Terran universe style maybe, but their own versions. And you've got all of these guys that are just like, it's a Federation by any other name, but it was for the worst part of it. So you've got to think there's going to be people out there, species out there, that do not want to get involved with anyone like that, and they'll attack on sight. I mean, Hirogen, anyone?
Oh god, I love those guys.
Hirogen are brilliant. Like, those guys are some of the best bad guys ever. And then I think that was the other thing. People were like, well, where's my Andorians? Where's my Klingons? Where's my Vulcans and stuff? It's like, it's not Star Trek because it's not got the species that we know.
Pisses me off.
Because
where's your Vulcans? Tuvok. There you go, there's your Vulcan.
Hey, not just Tuvok.
Vulcan.
Don't forget little
Vorik as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't forget Vorik and his twin brother that served on the Enterprise. You can't forget those two. Like,
So, Vorik and Torek.
apparently, that episode that you had in the, what was it, the Lower Decks episode on TNG. I think it was called Lower Decks. It was whatever one it was where they were doing with the ensigns and that lot.
Yeah.
That Vulcan that we see in there and who appeared quite a few times after that, he literally was billed to be Vorik's twin brother when they brought the same actor in to be Vorik in Voyager. I love that that's a nice little tie-in. It's just like they never mention it, but when you read into the lore, that's kind of how it's been mentioned, which is quite cool. So you've got little tie-ins to it. But that was the thing. There was no Vulcans, no this, no that, no everything that you see on TNG or DS9, which was going before Voyager and all this sort of stuff. There's nothing that we know of Star Trek. Who are these Kazons? They want to be Klingons. Who are these Borosian? They want to be something else. There's nothing that we know. It's all new. You know what most people are like? They hate everything that's new.
And you can bet your life that if it was just, you know, the Klingons, the Vulcans, the Andorians, it'd be, oh well, this is very samey.
Exactly.
Why does Janeway never discover any new species?
Yeah, and then
she was never going to be able to win.
Exactly, and then you'll have people sitting there going, but how come there's Klingons and Vulcans in the Delta Quadrant if that's not a smart star system and no one's been there before? Well, they should be able to get home easily then if those other people have got out there. Yes, because long-term storytelling's not a thing, obviously, you know, like...
How dare we try and give you something completely different in the writing room? We apologize.
Exactly. And I guess that kind of takes us with Discovery in a way, because like a lot of people were trashing Discovery on that, which we'll get to. The Discovery bashing has its own section, which I cannot wait to introduce you guys to.
I'd just like to point out as well that I love Discovery. I'm not one of those people that hates Discovery. I love it with all my entire being. But my god, did this season have issues.
I am very much on the fence with certain parts of Discovery. I will get my part of that out before we introduce that section, because that's going to be a thing. I legitimately cannot wait for you guys to hear this this part when we get into it. It's going to be so good. Let's quickly check up with people.
Ross has made a very valid point there. I like the Janeway defense.
You can read out loud better than I can, so please go for it.
Okay, he said, when every day is most likely a first contact day, you've got to be on your A game always. Janeway did well to keep her crew engaged and on point, but poor Harry Kim, longest serving ensign in history.
Exactly. Yeah. I really felt sorry for Harry. I'm just going to say this with the Discovery factor as well. I really wish when they introduced the Voyager on it, last episode where you get them saying, "Hail Voyager," I really wish that they kind of like made a nice little Kim family reference. So it would have been like, "Hail Captain Kim." And I'd be like, Jesus, even his descendants got promoted. Like in the prime timeline. Like, poor Harry. But
yeah, I did feel sorry for him because he saved that ship like at least 7 times a week.
More times than I can ever think of. That guy was legendary in the name of Starfleet. He should have been the Miles O'Brien of Voyager, basically.
Absolutely.
Our Lord and Savior Miles O'Brien. But yeah.
God among men.
It really is.
The only one man.
So you said something not long before we started that I said I was going to question you on when we started up. As of recording, Star Trek Lower Decks has just gone live on Amazon Prime, so anyone who didn't manage to catch it when it went stateside now had the chance to catch up. I'm about 8 episodes in. I am enjoying it. It's a bit too kind of like it's Star Trek, but it's you know, it's a typical kind of like zany cartoon. It's modern day animated zany cartoons. It's funny in places, but it's decent. You had a different opinion.
I couldn't get past the first episode.
Why was that? Coming from someone who's seen every other single piece of Star Trek media.
Yeah, I have, and I've read most of the books as well. I don't know. I think it was, maybe I wasn't in the right mindset to watch something like Lower Decks. Maybe I need to sit down and actually, you know, and I'm not half asleep, and just sort of focus on it. But the way it was a cold open. It just sort of opened on these like 2 sort of commanding officer. I think is it Beckett and is it Mariner and Boimler? I think.
Yes, Boimler was doing his captain's log that wasn't a captain's log.
Yes, and Mariner just sort of comes in and
drunk out of a skull on Romulan. Was it Romulan whiskey or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, "It's blue. I bet you didn't think it was gonna be blue, but it's such a nice color." It's like, I liked it.
To my tired brain, she was too much.
She does not get any different though. That's the thing. Like, her character is just that all the way through.
Can definitely wise up to her. Like, I know I have a feeling I'm gonna love it. I just need to sit down and actually watch it. But for a first episode, I was just kind of like, I need to turn this off. So,
would you say that so far it's suffering from the typical Star Trek effect then?
Yeah, the sort of doesn't know what to do with it for the first sort of 4 or 5. Yeah, that's what I think.
See, that's very valid on that, because that's basically Star Trek from every single season onwards.
I did very much take to Shax though.
Now we was having a debate on that. Like, I was trying to remember whether Shax was who I thought it was, whether Shax was the Bajoran security officer that works on the bridge, the big wide guy with the scar over his eye and all that. Like, I can never remember. I zone out on names all the time. I know who they are.
Looks like a Roblox character.
Oh yeah, I think that's Shax then. Yeah, like if I remember rightly, that is Shax. But I think we'll have to check in with you as the episodes go and see what you think of Lower Decks the more you watch it. If you get through more than one episode, if you get further, if you discover some of the cameos that turn up in it, because trust me, there's 2 cameos that I think you will absolutely adore when you get to them, if you get to them.
Yeah.
From what I've seen and heard so far. So I don't want to say anything spoiler related to that one, but I think you will probably enjoy it when you get that far in, especially episode 8.
I'll definitely get there eventually. I think I'm just gonna force myself to watch it even if I hate it, because then I can keep up saying I've seen all of Star Trek.
There you go.
It's nothing to be proud of.
4 episodes down the line, somebody check in and go, "Hey Janeway, have you seen Lower Decks yet? Have you gone through Lower Decks yet? Have you finished it?" We might.
Got homework.
Yes, you have research and homework, which brings me to a little thing that we're gonna do. We have been talking about this for about a week. I don't know if you remember this or not, because it was like 4 a.m. when we did it. There is going to be a section that we're going to do where you guys will give us an episode of a season of a particular franchise of Star Trek. Whether it's in the comments on YouTube, whether it's in DMs on the Discord, anything like that. You guys get in touch with us, or live on Twitch here. Say, right, Janeway, we want you to watch the original series, Season 3, Episode 12. Then we have to sit there and go, okay, if enough people say that that's a good one to watch, we will sit there, or like the first person in that says it, we'll do that, like after next episode or something. Because that gives us more content to talk about anyway, just in case we run out of ideas as time goes on. We'll sit there and go, right, we'll watch it, take notes, and go, right, so we watched it, this is what we think. It was absolute crap. Damn space hippies, man. Like, what are you going to do with it? That kind of thing. So I am open to that. I love that idea. What do you think, Janeway? What do we think?
Please don't choose Discovery Season 3. Don't put me back through that.
I think after this little segment that I've been putting off just because I cannot wait for it, but I think it's something that we need a little bit more in there. People might be doing that to you. But again, on the Discovery thing, I think that Ross has a very good point. I don't like the fact that they say fuck in Star Trek as much as they do, especially in Picard, and as much as they have in Disco, but it kind of works in certain situations.
Very much could not believe the amount of swearing we heard. Like, and I think more from like, yeah, it's catching. It's your fault.
Yeah, blame Jay. It's the brain cell. What am I telling you?
I used to be good at English until I started talking to you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyway, it was like Book mainly, wasn't it, that just kept saying like bullshit and
yes.
Fucking, like, why?
It's
no
like
need.
Tilly started the trend on season 1, And I was okay with just one because Tilly's character, I don't know whether whether Mary Wiseman herself has it, but I think they said that Tilly was what's it called? The first character in Star Trek to have ADHD.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. You know, you've got an ADHD character where anyone who has or knows anyone that has ADHD will know it's not exactly think before you speak sort of moment kind of thing. Sometimes she'll just say what you don't mean to say, and it's like, this is fucking awesome. And then Stamets is like, you're right, this is fucking awesome.
I loved that. She was like, math is fucking cool. And it was like, oh. That was an okay one.
That works.
And I also didn't mind, sorry to point him out so early on in the thing, Admiral Vance. I didn't mind him saying the word shit either.
I love that. Seriously, I think the standout of season 3 of Disco was them sitting in that conference room, talking their stuff. You've got Osira going, this apple tastes good. It's not like a real one, but it's like, and he just deadpan turns to her, it's made from my shit, you know. It tastes good for shit. That's it. Just that's it.
The way she just put it down as well and just spat it out like.
just that was the standout of season 3 for me. But I think there's no better segue to get onto this section to talk about Discovery than what I'm hoping is going to be the highlight of the entire show. Every episode, you'll hear the name change every now and then, but it's for reasons. Welcome to Dylan's Discovery Diatribe. This is going to be a nice little section where our good old captain takes 10 minutes out of his time to sit there and go, right, episode by episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 3.
Oh, goodness. Episode by episode?
Yeah, I mean, you could do episode by episode, or you could do it just like one great big thing, like a new section every time. But this is where we take a dump on Discovery Season 3.
Are you going to join me in this? Will you help me out?
I will definitely pipe in on this when needs be. Don't worry. But I know that you're going to enjoy this because this is going to be that thing that you've been wanting to do for a while. So the floor is yours. Or the bridge is yours.
Said someone replace Janeway's gel packs.
We'll do that eventually. We'll get your. I think it's probably just the mic going in and out, but we'll deal with that. Don't worry. But yeah, the bridge is yours, Captain. Chair is yours.
Should we just start from episode 1 then?
Let's do it.
There was absolutely nothing in episode 1 that I had any really qualms with, except all of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Michael Burnham Show.
Yeah, that's literally. I don't really remember seeing anybody else except Michael and Buck. I believe. Did we meet? We did meet Buck, didn't? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, because she crashed into him as soon as she came out of the wormhole, didn't she? It was like straight out of the wormhole, bam, into his ship. I'm like, well, there's a meet cute if you've ever seen one. And here we go. It's just. So yeah, go on.
My biggest sort of like thing with, because when I first watched this, as I told you, I missed the first 3 like when they were coming out, so I watched them all straight away, and I just think the reason that I originally really liked this one is because I was just happy to see Discovery again, like it was Star Trek on the screen again.
Yes.
It was just nice to see sort of like I had Saru back and I had Stamets back, and it was just nice. And then it all went to shit really straight away. When I rewatched it, I was like, this is terrible. This is actually.
See, I've always had to think like I'm one of those. I'm sort of a Disco detractor in certain respects. Like, when I first said about watching it, like when I first started watching it, I was like, it's good. It's a good sci-fi show. It's not Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's Star Trek by name, but it's not Star Trek. I'm like, this is pre-Kirk. So,
yeah.
Whereas, you know, why is touchscreens and amazing technology and all this sort of stuff that we've got pre-Kirk, why do the Klingons look different? The only reason why I allowed the Klingons to look the way they did in my own headcanon was, well, don't forget there was that thing that happened in Enterprise with they were losing their ridges, so then there was the thing, you know, there was that big disease that was going to wipe out the entire Klingon race. So Flux gave them that thing. They said, "Oh, there might be some physical changes." We saw that in TOS why they were white men in blackface, but we won't go into that. So I was like, okay, so maybe this is just to do with the thing. And then season 2, they're starting to grow their hair back, and they're kind of looking a little bit more like Klingons. But it's still, why is the technology so bad? Why is this making it look like Kelvin timeline technology still? This is pre-Kirk's. Where's the flips and the dials and the knobs and the weird little light-up ball things and the flippy communicators and the sets that look like they're going to fall over if you sneeze on them? It doesn't... It didn't feel like Star Trek to like a I know this is Dylan's disco diatribe. I apologize. I've completely taken this over in this one.
Hey, it's not just me here.
True. Maybe we should just call this disco shit talk in the next episode. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But it was like, I'm happy with it now with season 3 because the technology makes sense. You know, over the top crazy technology makes sense. The comm badge is where you can just instantly site-to-site transport. Fine. That seems like a thing that they were doing that century, but hollow communication systems in ships and basically Kelvin timeline technology in Prime Universe, it didn't do it for me. It was just not right. So my head kind of said this is just future Star Trek that they should have done it in originally.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's my standpoint on Discovery. So
that's valid. I can understand a lot of people just hating the sort of how futuristic and how polished it looked in comparison to Enterprise and TOS.
I was liking with Enterprise a little bit as well, I'm not gonna lie.
I hated Enterprise, but I also love it.
It's another controversial section, isn't it? It's like another controversial season, like franchise thing, whatever you want to call it.
Another season that I think shouldn't get enough stick and is usually in my top 3. Like around that sort of area. But we'll get onto that after Disco.
Yes, I was going to say, we'll move on to that one as soon as we're done with this bit. So yeah, you with Disco, season 1, episode 1, the meet cute of Book and good old Michael Burnham.
I mean, what I will give Michael Burnham, and I don't want anyone to think that I hate Michael Burnham, I actually do love Michael a lot. And I think it's partly down to Sonequa, because I just love her acting. But I think it was just great when, like, that moment when she sort of lands the Red Angel suit and it says, like, life signs detected, and she just lets out that scream of joy.
That was very
just
well.
Amazing.
I will definitely give them that. Like, I will very much give them that. Like, that was... Because where would you go with that? Like, what would you do? You could have it where they'd come through the wormhole, everyone's safe, cool, look, we're in Star Trek. Done. Like,
yeah,
you know, like, you could just carry it on like nothing happened. Oh, look, we came through, we've got a little bit of damage, but everything's fine. We're in the future now, yay.
yeah.
I was a little disappointed that we didn't get, like, Saru and that lot for more than, what, a 30-second wormhole flashback thing? But
yeah, they were just kind of like, here, like, oh, the crew's up there. Here's Michael Burnham on the ground.
And that was very much the whole thing. Like, episode 2 was good, though. I will give it that. It was a good sort of, like...
Yes, episode 2 was brilliant.
Well, there's barely any Michael in it, which was the best part of it.
Oh.
I think that's the most Michael Burnham... Like, the least Burnham that we've seen in an episode in all of Discovery.
Yeah, like, even the one, going back to my best boy again, Kaminar in season 2. Even Michael had to accompany Saru down there. Couldn't have been anyone else.
Saru is like the lifeblood of that show. I will march onto that hill. I will plant my flag in that ground and stand there and fight you with my batleth till my dying breath. That Saru is the best part of Discovery. Fight me on
He's definitely like one of my top 3, absolutely. Like, yeah.
Like, my top 3 for Disco will be Saru, Tilly, and Stammers, straight out. Not in any particular order, but those 3 are like... I mean, if we're talking like the ones who get the most screen time and the most lines. But
okay.
If we're talking like top 5 all in total, just characters in general, add Awoshikan and Detmer to that, boom.
Nice.
That's the top 5 of perfection.
can I just say as well, season 3 gave me Jola, and I will be so forever grateful for that.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that.
Absolutely love Osakun and Detmer. I will die with that ship. That fanfic's coming out very soon.
and you never know. We might if we can talk the captain into it, find a place for you guys to read it, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway,
maybe it's a big maybe.
Dude,
but
it's out there. If you want to go and try and find it, feel free.
There you go. Get on your detective skills, ladies and gents. That'd be an
But yeah,
interesting
season 2. Am I okay? Season 3. Even.
I mean, season 2 we can do season 2 if you want to. I mean,
please, I miss Spock. Anyway.
See, I wasn't a fan of the Spock. But I think that's just because
it's been fun, guys. I'm gonna leave.
I think it's just because you cannot get better than Nimoy. Like Nimoy is Spock. Like, but maybe that's just the old man in me speaking. Like, you know, Nimoy is Spock, and yeah, old what's his face did a decent job in the Kelvin timeline, but yeah.
What's his name? You mean? How dare you speak about Zachary Quinto?
Thank you. So drawing a blank on that. I was like, I know his name. I'm not going to be able to say it. I'm like, yeah, Zachary Quinto did a good job. He got better.
Ross is singing the Enterprise theme song in chat.
Oh god.
I'm gonna start.
No, please don't. It was bad enough when we had it with but apparently my phone is giving you a tune to go along with it, so enjoy.
I can fit it to this, it's fine.
I'm absolutely okay. But no, like Quinto was good for modern day. And this new Spock, I do not know the actor's name, and I feel really
Ethan Pack.
There you go. He was good. He was decent. Like he had the character. Like he had the mannerisms, and I think he had the mannerisms a little bit more than Quinto, to be honest. But he's just not Spock in my eyes. But I'm very like, you cannot replace an original character with somebody new and expect us to go yay, kind of thing, you know.
That's valid. I'll give you that. I'm not going to slight you for your opinion. I have very, very bad opinions, as we all know, when it comes to Star Trek.
Which I am totally taking over. Please give me these opinions. I don't want to be the guy talking all the time.
Oh no, feel free. I was just talking about my Cardassian opinions. But
no, trust me. When that comes in, that's episode 2 or episode 3. If you, I tell you what, actually, if you guys want episode 2 to be make Cardassia great again, that is a whole thing. That is a whole conversation we've had before, and I want to have this conversation again. So
I'd love people to judge me and call me out for it.
There you go. Comments below, down in chat, down wherever you are. Just give us your things. By the way, I want to take this very quick moment before we carry on. If you are listening to us live on Anchor, or not live, but whatever, on any other podcasty websites that we might finally be able to throw this out to, please feel free, come get involved as we do this live on Twitch. Probably Saturdays, every 2 Saturdays in a month. We don't know when, but we will be posting on the old Twitter somewhere. It'll be in your description boxes somewhere. And if you want to get involved, come join us. Might even get you on the show one day. You never know.
Heck yeah.
As you were saying.
I don't remember. I got distracted because Ross said just call him Silo.
Should we?
Heroes.
Oh, wait, was he in Heroes?
He played Silo in Heroes, yeah. Ethan Pack.
God, I mean, it depends on what season, because I stopped watching it after it came off at Channel 5 or Channel 4, whichever one it was on.
I don't remember what season it was, but he did play him. I think that's the reference there anyway.
That's still Star Trek. Well, that's still sci-fi. So basically, that kind of leads us into a thing. What this is it's not just going to be Trek. Over the time, we are going to be talking sci-fi shows like Red Dwarf, Babylon 5. I never watched it, but maybe I will for this. It's been something. Oh, Quinto, not Peck. Right, there you go. Sorry.
Yep.
Babylon 5 was something I watched when I was a kid, and I was just like, it's not Star Trek. That's all I was ever interested in at that point. But, you know, we might talk. You want to go really obscure into the fandoms here? Might talk about Lex. Yeah. If there's any sci-fis you want us to talk about, Stargate. Maybe leave Andromeda alone, because that would take us onto a whole different discussion, not about Andromeda itself, but to do with one of the actors in it, and we don't think we want to go there just yet. But there you go.
After we do our disco talk, we can talk about our like non-Trek sci-fi that we like that might pop up every now and then.
Yes,
I have a
I'm
list.
definitely down for that. So yeah, back to your disco diatribe. Let's get final thought. Well, not final thoughts, but let's go back to episode 1, season 3, Discovery. What do we think? Like, where are we going with this?
I'm gonna move swiftly on to episode 2 before I rant about Michael Burnham unfairly.
Do it.
It was nice in episode 2 to see Starfleet getting a lesson in poverty and scarcity when Saru and Tilly sort of beamed down to that planet and sort of, you know, saw that people had to like trade for dilithium and stuff. And
I liked that.
It was a nice little sort of. I don't know what the word is for it. Like dynamic, maybe.
Yeah.
To see that while Starfleet, and I am very, very anti-Starfleet, anti-Federation.
You never would have guessed, ever.
Like, I hate the Federation, but that's a chat for another time. And it was nice to sort of see them get that kick in the face of...
Oh, I think we lost hang on 1 second.
What people, you know, platinum is a thing, but it sort of isn't.
Sorry, we lost audio there for a second. You hate Starfleet and Federation, and then we lost you from that bit.
It was just me ranting about the Federation, as always. I just think it was nice to sort of have that like kick in the face for Starfleet, because they're always projecting like, oh, we live in a utopian society, we don't have poverty, you know, everybody's very well off because there's no money, there's no sadness, and then sort of have to beam down and see no money and sadness, and it was nice because it really sort of, I think it hit Saru particularly because his sort of people went through what they went through with the Baul, and
yeah, I was gonna say
what it was like to live in fear of other things.
You see a difference in Saru this season as well, which, from what you said, yeah, it's a very big point that it definitely hits home to him more than anyone else on the ship. They're too used to the true Starfleet lifestyle of, oh, we can go anywhere, do anything, there's no problems, nothing's wrong with the universe, and then you see a universe after the burn, which we will get to, because I have feelings.
We have varying opinions on the burn.
And this is what makes us so well off on this one, I think. I personally, when we get to that, I will have an opinion that I can guarantee you Janeway will not agree with, and probably vice versa, but yeah. Because I think this is the first time they really mentioned the burn, isn't it? Like, because we find... Is it episode 2 where we find the lowly Starfleet outpost? Or was that episode 3? No, episode 2 was where the crew reunites, wasn't it? And...
yeah, and it had Zara in it and everything, and they had that bar fight.
That was it. Which, Michelle Yeoh, oh yes, thank you very much.
Oh, my queen.
She is freaking amazing. And yeah, see, I feel so uninformed on my Star Treks at the minute, because it's been, what, 7-10 weeks since we saw at least the first episode again. I will have to...
3 weeks since it was over.
Right? Like, I need to go back and start rewatching this if we're doing our disco sections. I need to, like, find the episode that we're going to talk about next and kind of, like, just go, was it really that bad? Or was it worse? Probably worse.
Yeah.
Season 3, always worse. But yeah, no, carry on. Please feel free. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank for what I was about to say to that one. So please, carry on.
My last note for episode 2 is just let Tilly say fuck, all in capital letters.
And that was us coming from someone who literally said about 10 minutes ago that them saying fuck so much wasn't a good thing.
It's simply because out of all the characters, the only one that I think should be allowed to say fuck is Tilly.
Yes, no, I completely and utterly agree with you on that. Tilly should be the only character to get away with that.
I don't really have anything else for episode 2. The first sort of like 3 or 4 were a bit, alright, okay, we're getting into sort of what's happening here, and it's like a post-apocalyptic society in a way.
Shall we hit up episode 3 and leave the rest for our next edition?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because episode 4 is Adira came into it.
That's definitely, yeah, because then we've got, because that brings a lot of discussion, episode 4. I'm going to go back and rewatch that one, actually, when we're done, because Episode 4 is definitely going to be one of those ones that's going to have a very good kind of we'll get onto that one because I want to talk to you about that off stream, so we can talk about how we're going to approach that one.
Head on, no headlights. That's how we're gonna do it.
There you go. So yeah, we're gonna definitely get onto episode 4 for episode 2 of this. Don't be confused. I already am. But yeah, episode 3. Go on, take us away. The crew has been reunited. They're finding out about Starfleet not really being around anymore, and they've just heard of the burn, I believe, by this point.
Yeah, they're sort of like throwing their opinions out on what the burn could have been, and Jet Reno and Paul Stamets are having bitch fits at each other over it.
Jet Reno.
I love those two.
The comedic relief that we need more of, just like those two. We were saying this, if we ever get a spin-off, I just want the Discovery crew minus Burnham, like a live action Lower Decks, just no Burnham, nothing like that. Just give me Reno, give me Stamets, give me Tilly, give me a Washington, and why I just drawn a blank on her. I mentioned her earlier. Detmer, there we go.
Detmer.
Let's see, long, memory retrieval was not a thing. I just want to see all of those guys in an episode, like just in a season, all by themselves. Give me that for season 4, and I will love Disco again. Because Reno was brilliant from episode 1. Oh, don't mind me, I'm doing brain surgery on a Bolian or whatever, just like hooking him up to some weird ass system or something. With all the little droids and stuff that they made and all that. It was just such a good character to have.
Yeah, Tig Notaro was definitely one of the best investments Discovery's made.
Yes.
She's just brilliant. I like to think that they didn't give her a script. They just threw her in and was like, do you think?
See, that's the thing.
That's
that's what I was thinking that as well, because like the way that character is played is just like it's perfect to what they need.
She's so natural. Like, she just has like a drink in her hand and she's on a personal data pad and she's like, oh, I don't know, I'm on drugs, and it's like,
yeah.
Who are you?
or like the bit in the Jeffries tube where Stamets is doing his whole thing and it's just like, what? Can't hear you. I'm doing a thing here. Like, can you try not to die, please? Like that. Just the whole setup of those
she
guys.
puts him in that Jeffries tube, and then Culber's like, he's gonna die, and she's like, no, he'll be fine. You're doing fine, princess.
Yeah, just that whole thing, like. Just the interaction, the way they work, everything about them is just so well done that I just want more of them. I want more of them.
Yeah.
Right, episode 3, before we get too much further away from it.
Nothing happened. There's like barely any notes on this. It's where we discover the sphere data, and it's sort of like basically a part of the crew now.
Oh, is that where the computer's voice was changing ever so slightly and acting slightly different?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's how little attention I paid to it. That's about all I remember.
And Giorgio keeps trying to convince us that Michael is bad.
Oh, that was it, yeah, because Michael's acting a little bit differently because they need to do something character development-y that's going to make you think, oh, she's been living in this timeline for a whole year now, and she's been living a different life with Book for a year, and oh, maybe she's going to be different and betray the crew, and...
Yeah.
Burn him.
All about Burnham yet again.
Just burn him. Like, I don't think you can do an episode about anything Discovery without ever mentioning Burnham, ever.
No, because it all comes back to Burnham. It's like, oh yeah, we get good Philippa Georgia content, but she's talking about Michael Burnham. Oh, Saru's gone down to this planet, his homeworld, to see his sister, and Michael Burnham is stood behind him.
It's just like, come on, please. I know they said when they were doing Discovery it was going to be a linear story around one character, which is totally out of Star Trek's proportion of the way they did things up until that point. But even so, don't make it so obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's literally all I've got on episode 3, I think. I don't want to pay that any more attention than we already have.
Episode 4 was really where it started to get like good, as it were.
Yeah, like, that's very much conversational. That's very big topics.
Not just because we got Adira, but that's where the story genuinely started to progress. And
because Adira was an interesting character.
Yeah, they sort of like turned up, and it was like, Now this is an interesting dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to adopt Adira?
Because even before that, you don't even expect Adira to be like a long-term character, let alone as pivotal as they became.
Yeah, like every time there's a child in Star Trek, like you see Wesley, but he's got Beverly, but like also Worf kind of adopts him in a way, and Picard adopts him, and
The
remember when
entire crew
Ziyal
do,
got
don't they?
to got to Deep Space Nine, and everyone just signed the adoption papers upon learning that Dukat was her father.
Oh yes, yes. I'm surprised. Not Discovery. I'm surprised that DS9 has been so little talked about up until this point. Dukat especially. But we will get there.
Who's Dukat? I don't like him.
We will get there, my friends. We will get there. You know what? Ross makes another good point, especially going back to Reno and Stamets, that they're two engineers, both alike in dignity and fair. In Dignity on Fair Discovery, where we set our scene. Huh? Who? Huh? My English is bad.
It's because you were talking about the show that you wanted about Stamets, Reno, and Lower Decks.
That was it.
That's like
Thank you. Yes.
Two engineers, both alike in dignity and on Fair Discovery, where we set our scene.
There we go. That see. Okay, so I think that's pretty much just clinched it here. Whenever we do refer to chat, Janeway's taking it. That's your job. There. You're here to be the voice of chat at this point. Deep Space Nine is also Russia's specialty, so by that point, when we get to like the heavy DS9 episode, that's where we're going to probably be referring to Ross a lot, whether it be in the show with us or like through chat or however we start bringing people in at some point. Let's move on from Discovery, because that's going to be a big point on this. Like that's going to probably be a big standpoint of these episodes. We've done Voyager, we've touched on Enterprise, we've touched on TOS, we've touched on TNG. We've pretty much done most Star Trek except for the animated series, which we'll get to. we'll get to. That's just some typical kind of like wannabe Scooby-Doo, oh my god, it's Star Trek Scooby-Doo style stuff in a way. In like the fact of how cheesy it is. Brilliant show, don't get me wrong. Highly recommend it if you guys are looking for something to watch. I think it's on... Is it on UK Netflix?
Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
And probably on CBS and all that lot, depending on where you watch your Star Trek content. And I'm sure you can probably find it on all those websites where you're not meant to watch stuff either. Naughty.
Not sponsored, but get an odd VPN.
Yes.
That's how I watch Quantum Leap.
Well, there you go. Let's move on to different sci-fis real quick. So, one thing I can talk about: Boys from the Dwarf. Anyone? Red Dwarf? Shall we?
Hello.
Just the beauty of Red Dwarf.
I think it's particularly beautiful if you're a British person. I think Americans watching it might be a bit sort of standoffish at it at first.
Oh,
but it is.
Don't know. They had Red Dwarf. They screwed it up.
Bad version of it.
Yeah, they massively screwed it up, and the only good saving grace about that whole thing was the fact that Dax was in one of their 2 failed pilots. But that's it. Like, there's nothing good about American Red Dwarf.
No.
If you guys have never watched it...
Except that it didn't get very far.
Very true. Partly for the fact that they just jump way too far into it and they just do such a bad job with it. But if you guys have never watched the American pilots on Red Dwarf, they are on YouTube somewhere. If you deep dive for them, they're in very bad VHS quality. If anyone knows what VHSs are, well done, you're old. Just like me.
That didn't me.
No, that was more just me.
Because I'm a child.
But yeah, if you've not watched it, go torture yourself for about 29 minutes. If you're lucky, make it through. But
yeah.
But UK Red Dwarf, the good Red Dwarf. Although saying that, up until when does it go bad?
Red Dwarf?
Yeah.
Oh god, about 3 episodes in? No.
When the new Kachansky comes back, fight me.
Yeah. Like sort of like season 9, I'd say it sort of started to drop off. Like
Yeah, like honestly, I think when they that's me trying to search for words out loud. That's a new experience. Verbal databanks not computing. I think they should have left it at the end of the episode where they blow up the ship from the future, which technically sort of blows themselves up, but doesn't blow themselves up and resets the timeline and all of that. Like, it was a great cliffhanger, great end point. Because coming back from it after that was just, it was a lot.
I think Red Dwarf is kind of like the show as well, that you could end on a cliffhanger without telling us whether or not they made it back.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be quite nice to just imagine they're still out there somewhere.
Because don't get me wrong,
chili chutney sandwiches and
eating those fried egg chili, the triple fried egg chili chutney sandwich. Oh, had one of them before. It is a catastrophe, but quite nice. Would recommend, but you do actually, like Lister was right, you do have to eat it before the bread dissolves. That's a thing. It becomes one big splodgy mess and probably mold it into a shape by that point.
Just throw it at Rimmer.
Yeah, go mold it up into one big smushy ball and throw it at Rimmer. It'll pass right through him, but well, until it gets hard light. But you know,
it's hard light, yeah.
Yeah. See, Red Dwarf is one of those shows, and I know we don't really we've gone in depth on certain bits, and we will go in depth on other bits, but like we're bypassing a lot today to give you guys more in depth as time goes on. Red Dwarf is one of those shows that no matter when you watch it, it still stands up to comedy of the time. There's nothing, you know how, what was it, last year there was a lot of old school comedies that were being brought up as offensive or something like that to like new generations. You know, Blackadder's been flagged and Faulty Towers has been flagged, and Only Fools and Horses apparently what's the words I'm looking for here, is offensive to millennials because of the way they portrayed the yuppies back in the day.
Yeah.
Red Dwarf doesn't have that, I don't think. There's not a single point of the way Red Dwarf was made, shot, scripted, put out, edited, anything along those lines that you can sit there and go, that's offensive.
No. And I think particularly with like those shows, I know that nothing you've just mentioned was sci-fi, but nothing like Only Fools and Horses and Faulty Towers and stuff, which I am definitely old enough to have seen, was offensive. Like, it was for the time, and I think that's what people are missing. It's like we were having that discussion on, like, if someone does a biopic of like Nazi Germany and they're wearing Nazi uniforms, you can't flag that as offensive.
Because
in the same that if you've got
it's to do with the context.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like, well, there's a swastika on my screen. It's like, yeah, because this is Nazi Germany. Like, it's not offensive. It was at the time.
Exactly. Didn't they do that with like they, again, I know it's not technically sci-fi, but didn't they do that with like games like Wolfenstein at some point? People were complaining because it was very heavily like, I think the third Wolfenstein game actually had Hitler in it or something, and people were complaining that it was offensive. Hitler's in it. Oh my god. And it's like, well, the game is basically kill Nazis and take down Nazi Germany, if I remember correctly. I've never really played them past the first couple of hours because they've never really been my kind of game. But in context, to have that and to have that sort of stuff, this again goes back to Star Trek in a respect as well, with what we were saying about, you know, this not working, that not working, why is this better than that, blah blah blah. It's something that we were talking about again off topic and that lot. Within context of where it is, it makes sense. Like we were saying, modern day Trek doesn't make sense to older Trek fans because we're sitting here screaming, why is technology better? Why is this better? Why is this different? It makes sense for a modern day show because no one's going to sit there and watch a Star Trek that's full of switches and knobs and dials and 60s style effects because of context of the time. I mean, could you imagine sitting there now? You sit an average person down in front of Star Trek now, and I think we all know, and I mean everyone in chat here knows, a mutual friend somewhere at some point that you've tried to get to sit down and watch Star Trek. You've sat them in front of the original series and gone, this gets good. There's a couple of episodes in the first few episodes that are bad, or slightly off, or doesn't make sense, and cheesy. Same with TNG. But it gets better. watch it, and they're like, "Oh, I can't do
Yeah.
that. Where's the special effects? Where's the explosions? Where's the this, that, the other?" It's all contextual to the time. You have to take into account of it was a different time back then. Things weren't the same, which again goes back to the fact that Red Dwarf can't be really offensive because they didn't really do anything with it. But the other shows that was listed, I guess in a way, could be considered offensive now because language. Like DS9, that's it. DS9, that's where I was going with this. DS9 has an episode that could be considered controversial today because of the use of the N-word in a certain context. I was watching it last night. I can't remember exactly the name of the episode, but it was the one where Cisco is having, is it delirious dreams or something like that? Basically, he's back in the day of like an old sci-fi magazine publishing place, and you can't.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna print a picture that had Kira's character because she was a woman. She was, quote, sleeping in that day. You can't have Cisco's character because of the color of his skin. I won't use the word that they used, obviously, but within context, it would be a case of back then they were saying it because they were using it in context of the episode, and in that episode it was the time period where those words would have got used. And I think that, I wouldn't say that gives it a pass, but it makes it more understandable for the usage. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's entirely what I say. Like, if you're going to get offended about something that's as old as that is and fits in with the time frame that it's supposed to be in, then don't watch it. Like, just turn it off.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it needs to. That's where you need to draw the mental barrier, I suppose, of. This was recorded in, the mid-90s. Language was a bit different back then. And the context of that episode was, the 30s, 40s kind of time, I think? I might... Far beyond the stars. Thank you very much, Ross. Again, Ross is basically the DS9 aficionado that will always put me right. Which I'm going to appreciate all the time. But yeah, like, it makes context... Like, it makes the context of the episode... I wouldn't still say that it was the best idea to do it, because you know that they wouldn't be allowing that modern day. But
yeah,
if for the context of the time where language was different, and the context of the timeline in that episode where language was different, I wouldn't say it's fair game, but it makes more sense to do it. Or at least that's my viewpoint with it, I think. I would love to hear your opinion on that.
I mean, as far as like offensive language and offensive actions go in film, I think as long as it's used within a context that makes it acceptable, there's no issue. Like, if you're just going to throw stuff out there like that for shock value and for sort of, I don't know how to word it, but like just for the sake of it, I think that's where you sort of start going wrong.
I think that's where very easily we could have dropped to the N-word straight away and just been like, bam, that's what they said. And it would have been like, it would have been in context of the conversation, but it would have been just like using it for the sake of using it. So
it's unacceptable to say it now because everybody knows what the N-word is. We don't have to say it.
It's like you have a version to, you have a way to refer to it as. It was set in the 50s, thank you. Birth of civil rights movement. Contextually it fits.
That's a very valid point.
The way it was used, exactly. That is a very, very, very valid point, Ross. And yeah, Bowie, one of our resident nutcases down in the chat, had a troubled time getting into the original series, but stuck with it. And very, very, very glad she did too, because there has been many a times when myself, Bowie, and Q, not that one, although sometimes he wishes he was probably, have had many Star Trek discussions in the pub over a pint, going, hey, this kind of feels like Quarks a little bit, because, you know, Resident Ferengi here, hi. Or, like, I am a Ferengi stan, I guess you could put it. Adore those guys. I don't know why. It's always Quark and rum. You can't say anything bad about the Nagus. And, of course, Moogie. You gotta have Moogie. Moogie! Like, you can't not have Moogie in a discussion when you talk about the Ferengi.
She's my favorite.
She is awesome. it's the whole thing. It's the whole idea of you just cannot take looping it back. You cannot take it out of context of where it was and go, right, well, now I'm offended. Because if that was the case, you could very easily have taken a lot of offense to season 3 of Disco.
Yeah, and that's something we'll get into with our Disco chat.
Yes, I was gonna say like that's a big part of why I want to get onto that one in a couple of episodes, because when we get to episode 4 and onwards, it's going to be a very big discussion for a lot of reasons, and it's going to be very insightful for people that are sitting there just going, well, this thing was done wrong, or that thing was done wrong, or it should never have been done in the first place, or they did this thing wrong. So if you're interested in hearing that discussion, please tune in for the next couple of episodes.
If y'all don't like Discovery, this is the place to
be. Very much so. But again, with the caveat of, we actually kind of like it, but we kind of don't.
I love Discovery.
Like, Disco is a good thing and a bad thing, both rolled into one. I guess if we're going to do different sci-fis here, we sort of did Red Dwarf, yes. But Red Dwarf was a bit... Red Dwarf, like you said, is very much a British sci-fi that British people will want to talk about.
Sorry, Ross has just mentioned Jeffrey Combs in chat and said, also Brunt, another one of the many roles. Like, yes.
That guy, like, we could do an entire episode on Jeffrey Combs and still be talking about it 2 weeks later, because that guy is just freaking amazing.
Although I will say, I cannot stand Brunt. Like, out of all of his characters, if I saw Brunt, I'd floor it.
I would
I'm a Shran stan, first and foremost.
Oh, Shran was a highlight of Enterprise right there.
I love that little blue dude.
So angry, so annoying, but so good. And
that's another thing as well, talking about like offensive media. Like, you don't see people like pink skin. You don't see people getting offended about that. That's essentially racist, right?
Yeah.
In the context of Enterprise, at least. Because
you are literally referring to someone by the color of their skin, which this is the part that makes you sound bad for saying it. If Archer was black and they said something along those lines, instantly it's offensive and racist.
Yeah.
Within the context of the discussion, obviously, I'm not saying it's right or wrong to say whatever for people's skin color. I want to, you know how quickly someone could get offended by you saying something slightly worded wrong. There's always a way that you have to back up everything you say these days on the internet, because, you know, someone will take it out of context and, yeah, it'll just be plastered everywhere and you're a bad person. So, you know, make it very clear whatever color of the skin the person would be, and they called them by the color other than pink because that's probably how Andorians saw humans in general, it would be considered offensive. That's like me calling a Ferengi orange skin because they were very orangey brown, rather than like you know, you kind of got a very much tan kind of color from a Ferengi. So
that's the sort of like what I was trying to link it back to, was like, well, in context, because obviously the Andorians were very hostile to other races, particularly the humans. For obvious reasons, humans are awful. It made sense. It was okay. Like it fit into what the Andorians were. Like, they didn't like the Vulcans, they didn't like the humans. It was anything to sort of, they weren't going to be civil. So it just sort of fits in, and it's knowing when to be offended and when not to be offended, I think.
I think what with cancel culture generation, though, everything's offensive. Like, you start out offended just because it's where you sit, and then eventually you go, you know what, that wasn't so bad. Or like, I surprisingly wasn't offended by that episode. Good for them. It's just... Yeah,
like, I'm gonna bring an awkward one up, because I'm CEO of doing that.
Do it.
I'm gonna bring up Cogenitor here from Enterprise.
Oh.
If anybody remembers Cogenitor, yeah.
That is an episode.
Now that is an episode. And much like, was it Outcast in TNG? I believe it was called Outcast.
I think so, yeah.
With the non-binary society, but the girl who wanted to be a gender, and they were sort of like exiling her. Those are two episodes that you could take offense to, but you don't, because in context they sort of make sense, but they were poorly handled. I know they're a discussion for a later day, but that's what that reminds me of when people are like cancel culture and they get offended. And I know a lot of people attacked LeVar Burton for Cogenitor because he directed it.
Oh, really?
And you're like, oh, yeah, he got a lot of stick for Cogenitor, particularly off like newer Trek fans that were rewatching older Trek. They were like, oh, Cogenitor was very badly. Right. It was a bit insensitive, like when you do rewatch it back, but I think it's knowing when to be offended and when not. Like, it wasn't intentionally offended. They were trying to bring light to.
I was gonna say, yeah, because like back even in the early 2000s, like the whole I'm always trying to figure the right ways to word these situations, because not situations, you know what I mean, like trying to word the subject properly without it sounding dismissive or offensive. It's like there wasn't as much spotlight on what they were talking about at that time. So like, you know, the LGBTQ community and onwards wasn't as prominent back then, I think, in mainstream media, especially dealing with these sorts of subjects, which again we said we will get onto, because I think that will probably be like a whole episode of like that department in Star Trek itself, and how they handled it and stuff like that would be probably a very good topic of discussion at that point. I think that would be a very good episode to work with.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's like, was it done sensitively enough? Was it handled right? And so on.
My opinion about stuff like Cogenitor and Outcast is that you have to refer it back to Star Trek, which has since the 60s been very trying to push issues that shouldn't be issues. Like, you know, you see Kirk when people are like, oh, I'm not having a Vulcan on this bridge, and then he's like, well, you can get off my bridge. Like, he belongs here just as much as you do. And I think with Cogenitor in particular, they were trying to push sort of an agenda, much like Star Trek do, but they just didn't handle it very correctly. Like, and this is the problem with having diversity in the writing room.
Yes,
they tried.
That's one thing that Star Trek's always been good with, though. As you were saying, like, Star Trek's always been good with the diversity in things. I mean, first ever interracial kiss that technically wasn't the first ever interracial kiss on TV, because apparently there was a TV show before that did it, but it was more known from Star Trek because more people watched it. I will need to do a bit more research into that so I can, you know, I can report back, see where I was right or wrong on that one. But there was more eyes on Star Trek at that point, and even then, people were saying that you look at Kirk's face, and then you look at Uhura's. Kirk got pleasure from that, and he was watching the guy at the same time. But I mean, granted, yes, he was under the other guy's control to do it at that point, if I remember my episode correctly. But you could see the way that Shatner was looking, and the way the character was looking in that one. First syndicated show. Thank you, Pig.
Oh, hi, Pig.
And yeah, it was the first syndicated show on TV that it happened on. And yeah, there was a lot of people that were going, oh, I'm getting very, I hate to use this word, so I apologize to anyone who it might offend or trigger or anything like that. It was a very rapey looking kiss from Kirk, people were saying. Granted, as we said, it was under like a mind control situation, if I remember my episode correctly. But a lot of people said that never should have happened in that respect. It was good that it happened, but the way it happened was done wrong.
Yeah, and I think I read somewhere as well that it shouldn't. Originally, it was supposed to be Spock. It wasn't actually supposed to be Kirk. And then William Shatner complained, much in William Shatner fashion, which is very believable.
That's a show for no, but that's a whole show in and of itself. The Shatner situation.
Oh, shudders. My threat ganglia are activated.
But it's Star Trek's always pushed the boundaries, though. So doing that was a thing. Like, whether it was done tastefully, whether it was done right, whether it was handled well, is a different question, obviously. But
I think a lot of things in Star Trek are handled well at the time, and then they age badly.
You know what? I would agree. I think that is probably the best way of putting it. Very well handled at the time, considering. And I'd like to think they'll do a much better job if there's anything that... Is there any... Actually, that's a good question. Is there anything in Star Trek modern day that they can do that's not already been done? Like, is there any more boundaries that they can push?
I don't know, but I'm sure they'll find some.
Because you think about it, they've had the first interracial kiss. We've had non-binary actors, trans actors, first full-on
non-binary and trans
characters as well. Sorry, my apologies. We've had the first gay couple on screen with Stamets and I keep forgetting his. This is that tired brain cell, just like, dude, we are so far.
Pigs just put bestiality.
Yeah, I saw that and I did not want to say it, but yeah. I mean, technically, Jadzia has talked about many of her conquests that could be considered that.
Jadzia have a thing with Morn as well, so that's slightly off topic, but
she mentioned that she had a thing for him, but Morn rejected her. I actually watched that episode a couple of nights back. I think it was last night. Yeah, she mentioned it because what was it? She was talking to Worf about Worf was jealous of her conquests or something still, and she said about having it. It was the episode where Morn faked his death.
yes,
because they were after him for the gold press platinum, and she was like, oh, I had a thing for him once, but nothing ever happened because he rejected me or something. I was just like, why would you want to reject Jadzia?
Can you imagine rejecting Jadzia Dax?
Right? Like Ezri, yeah, maybe. Like Ezri, she was okay, but Jadzia? Oh.
Yes,
You just, Morn, what were you thinking, man? What were you thinking? I did love the thing with Morn where it was always like he was just about to speak and he'd always get cut off. That man never had to say a line. He had the easiest job on Star Trek ever.
That is so true. I love Morn.
I want to be Morn when I grow up. He sits there looking looking annoyed, but just like looking content within himself, and just like, I get to sit here and drink all day, surrounded by all these actors doing their job, and just be like, I'm in Star Trek and I never have to say a word. That's like goals. That's goals for an actor, though. That's the easiest job you'll ever get.
True. Very true.
So I was just thinking of Morn life for a minute. I got lost. Lost on the spaceways. Beautiful wives, mud baths to sleep in, and just sitting there constantly getting drunk. That's where it's at.
What a lot.
Right? And like over 1,000 bricks of gold pressed platinum to retire on.
Got it good. He's got it good.
And you've got Quark as a best friend, kind of, who would stab you in the back anytime. But you know,
absolutely sell him for 2 bars of platinum.
yes, absolutely true. I feel this this discussion is lacking one pivotal thing. And we've gone this long without actually getting into it, and I feel we need to do this before we do either move on or decide we're going to wrap up for episode 1.
Okay, I'm scared.
Cardassians.
Oh god.
More so
What's a Cardassian?
Just give us the best lizard man ever. Let's. Because anyone who knows, old Janeway here is a big Dukat stan. Will always fight his corner.
No. No.
I will missell you on this one until you fight back. I will missell you till you fight back. Give us the.
Do not ever say the word Dukat stan.
I can't believe I said the word stan, to be fair. Like, I've never used that phrase in my life, and I very much doubt I will again.
Is that because I say it?
It's too modern. I'm picking up your language now. This is terrible. Like, I blame you entirely here. Like,
it's okay. I'll just blame Jonathan Frakes.
Oh, and of course we need that. I completely forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. Carry on.
Yeah.
So,
what am I carrying on with?
Anything Cardassian at this point? How many lights are there?
Wow.
Blame Ross.
That's 4 lights. I love Gul Madrid. Can I just point that out? Like, David Warner, so good. Chain of Command is one of my favourite TNG episodes. And TNG is at the bottom of my list.
That guy's voice. That guy's voice is just.
I know. And then I watched The Man with Two Brains because he was in it, and I hated it. But I just kept looking at him and I was just like, go Madrid, go Madrid, go Madrid.
Totally doesn't have a Cardassian fixation at all.
I don't. I can't name 15 Cardassians.
I don't think that's because there was 15 Cardassians that really had a name, but I am sure you could.
I definitely can, but that's not the point.
Go on. 15 Cardassians, go for it.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not exposing myself like that. I don't even know what a Cardassian is.
They're the the guys who live on Romulus, right?
Oh no, they're the blue dudes, aren't they?
Which ones?
They're
There's
the blue
two.
dudes. Yeah, they're the blue dudes. Oh no, they're not. They're the ones with the funny noses. Yeah.
Yes, because that definitely doesn't narrow it down. See that?
Oh, sorry, the foreheads, not the noses.
That's something I loved about Star Trek. I gotta say, there's the one thing I absolutely adored about Star Trek. Aliens, 99% of the time, were someone with a slightly different forehead or slightly different nose. Or something that went over their mouth that made it look absolutely impossible to eat with. Like, Quark's friend who Quark betrayed and got prison time for, and then he comes back to kill him, and he's literally just got this weird little hook thing that goes from the tip of his nose and joins under his bottom lip. And I was like, how does that dude eat properly? You gotta slot it in underneath that weird looking thing. Just, yes, all the weird kind of phrasing. I think I know where your mind's going. You gotta slot it into that weird looking thing, and there. You know what I'm gonna do for that? I am going to blame Kurtzman. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your blame Kurtzman moment of the week. Got it in there, told you I would.
I'm just gonna blame Frakes.
Either or, I'm good with. Blame them both. They can both get away with it.
He has so much to answer for.
He really does. I mean, we could do this forever. We could probably sit here and talk for what, 12 hours about this stuff.
Well, you brought up Cardassians, most definitely. I can sit here for another 3 hours at least on Cardassians.
Well, there you go. Do you want a 3-hour-long episode of nothing but Cardassians? Let us know. It's that's the thing with Star Trek. There is always going to be a topic, and I feel that episodes are gonna just be Star Trek. Then we can probably fit some stuff in that will be non-Trek.
I'd love to talk about non-Trek stuff because I have nobody like IRL to talk about sci-fi with because nobody watches it.
There you go. If you guys want me and Janeway to talk about specifics, you know where we are. Just hit us up in a Discord. Again, hit us up in any other thing where this is posted. One of us will check it, I'm very sure. It might be a couple of days, but we'll definitely check it. And yeah, give us some topics, give us some discussions, give us some things. If you also, like we said, if you want to get involved, we will be looking into getting some guests on at some point. There might be days where Janeway's not with us for reasons and stuff, but this voice will always be here. I know. I apologize.
This one probably will as well, and it's a very fluctuating accent for which I apologize as well.
But if there is ever a time where Janeway needs to step away from an episode for a reason or another, you know, life is life. We will never.
Descartes visiting.
Yes, Descartes has come to life and has decided to come and visit because reasons. We may have some guest hosts on. We might have people that you've never heard from before in stream. We might have people that you do know from stream. Again, if you guys are listening anywhere else, please come and join us live when we do this again.
Can I say as well, I'm having so much fun.
I really am. Like this is a good thing. This is what I've wanted from like all of those failed shows. Is someone that you can sit there and not have to think and just speak. Which apparently I do a lot of very well anyway. But you know, someone who's actually interested in the subject is always good. And
Yeah.
You know, we'll set a goal to get Janeway a mic that is good at some point. Don't worry. For anyone who's sitting there going,
So sorry, Discord to do.
True. For anyone who's sitting there going, oh, I'm not going to listen to that one again because that microphone is terrible. Well, you try do a talk show with a headset that's, 10 years old. Fight us. Let me hear your talk show. You probably got a better one than me.
I like a good fight.
You've probably got a better one than us, but who cares? For the next show, Lower Decks, Pig says, Pig has missed the Lower Decks section of this one, but
we can rehash if he wants to hear it. There's not much of it.
I was gonna say, yeah, we can rehash this super quick. I've watched up to episode 8. It's kind of good. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's middle ground.
I didn't get past episode 1. Big. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's it. That's the long and short of it. It's gonna take some time.
I like sharks. That's it.
It's gonna take some time and rewatches to see whether it's worthy of the name Star Trek as a long-term thing. But we
I'm
will.
sure Pig would love to hear
We'll
the disco bashing that we did.
Yes, I can imagine Pig will be on this when it's finished and when it's uploaded. It'll be like, right, let's see what it was. Because Pig has some interesting thoughts on Discovery, which I might do a J and Pig episode. Like, if you guys want like little bonus episodes where it's just me and somebody else talking shit for like 20 minutes about something, then you might get some of those as well as time goes on. We'll see what happens. Watch this space, they say. Don't fall out the airlock. Those doors are a bit dodgy these days. But you know what? I think we've covered a lot today in the hour and a half that we've been doing this already.
It's been an hour and a half, Jesus.
Including pre-show, which again, if you guys are listening somewhere else, I know I'm saying this a lot, but it will happen in the first couple of episodes. We do a 10-minute, maybe half hour, depending on how long we can be asked to do for pre-show. Are you all right down there in engineering?
Yeah, it just drops shit all the time.
Fixing that warp core again. We will be having a pre-show live on Twitch. So if you want to come and join us for that, and then join us when we record live, come over to twitch.tv/thatMrJ. Shameless promotion is shameless, but we'll hopefully have a separate channel for this at some point. Yeah, hashtag non-spawn. There you go. There you go. But yeah, I think episode 1 has gone very well. Is there anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
Not that won't last for another 3 hours.
There you go. You got something to look forward to for the next one. If you guys have, again, if you have any subjects that you want us to touch on for the next couple of episodes or anything like that, we can take ideas. If you have any topics that you want us to touch on in the long run, again, we can touch on and watch and stuff like that. We will do the watch along episode thing where we'll find an episode where we want to watch. Me and Jane will sit there, watch it. Sounds like I just said Jane, not Janeway, because I said that so fast. Me and Janeway will sit there and watch that episode, and we will report back with our findings. So it'll be like a viewer fest for you guys to be like, right, we're going to sit here, watch this episode that you've given us, and we will give you our thoughts. We'll probably do that after the episode 2, maybe episode 3. We'll see how the next couple go. If you like the live format, please let us know. If you like to sit back, relax, and listen to it pre-record, again, let us know. We can happily record it and upload it somewhere else instead. Janeway, it's been brilliant having you. It's been awesome having you on this first episode, my captain.
Thank you. It's been nice being here. You chat are great as always. Do apologize for the sound quality.
Hey, it's been fine up until I started talking, so you know we're good. I think we're onto something here. I think we're pretty much set up for some good stuff in the future. I cannot wait, and I'm hoping this one will make it to and possibly past episode 10. And hey, look, if we make it to episode 10, right, we make it past episode 10, Janeway will tell you the story of Dukat. Everything in that man's life up until the day he gets thrown into the fires of the Par Wraiths. I'm joking. I wanted to put you on the spot there for a second just to see. No, and on that magnificent disappointment, I guess, or that massive shot of anxiety.
I'll do it.
Oh, there you go.
I'll do it.
There you go. Episode 10, the story of Dukat, as told by
I'll
James.
read it like a Critical Role campaign.
Oh, I'm good with that. I think episode 5 is definitely going to be make Cardassia great again. It has to be done.
I'll do it like Paul Stamets in when he's doing his jester thing, when he's like attend. I'll do that, but for Dukat.
See, you've got an episode 10 to look forward to, guys. I think on that note, that's where we're not gonna do any cheesy catchphrases or anything. We're not gonna do the cheesy alien frequencies closed.
Why don't we Michael Burnham it? Why don't we just go, let's fly?
Oh, see, now you just took away my end point. How could you?
I'm so sorry.
This
is the Michael Burnham show, though.
I was gonna say, I was gonna turn this into the Michael Burnham show as we left. Well,
we have the same brain cell.
This is true. I guess at this point, we just have to say thank you all for listening. It has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Stick around for that post show if we do one. But
Heck yeah.
You guys have been brilliant. Thank you for your input once again. If you guys have enjoyed it, you know what to do, and we'll catch you on an episode. Cannot even get an outro done without messing up. Well done, Jay. Fair play to you. If you've enjoyed yourself, thank you. We'll hopefully see you on another episode of Off the Bridge, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.